Hello, welcome back. It's so good to see you. So today is going to be a little different. Yeah, if you noticed the thumbnail, I have MS or multiple sclerosis. Now, I've wanted to make this video for a while, but I haven't had the nerve to do it, But I want to make this video not just to give you a story time, but also to help people, who may have been recently diagnosed and are just looking for answers. Because that's what I did when when it was confirmed for me. First, I immediately looked up, am I going to die? Then I looked up, what was it, and then I went to YouTube for more, clarification, because it can be very confusing, especially in the beginning. So whatever I can do to help, right? I do have my notes here because I don't want to forget anything. But yeah, so this video is going to be a little personal. Nothing, gross or anything, just personal. So now, what is MS or multiple sclerosis? It is a disease in which the immune system eats away at the protective covering of the nerves, resulting in nerve damage that disrupts the communication between the brain and the body. That's the literal definition. And for me, when I was first diagnosed, I was like, what is that? So basically, your nerves run all over your body, right? Well, they carry all the information back to your brain, and your brain sends the information like, I need to move my hand. Boom. Well, that information went to my brain and went to the hand and then went back up to the brain. Well, all those nerves have this protective coating in them because, they need protection. Well, in MS, it's like an autoimmune disease kind of thing, and that's when your body attacks itself. So my body, it's in MS, it attacks the coating on your nerves. So if the coating is, eaten away, then it's just exposed, and the information, it slows the information down, or it cannot get there properly, and it's crazy. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not good. It's not good. Your nerves need that protection so that the information can get back and forth the right way. As of right now, there is no cure for this disease, but there are medications that can help slow the progression down. I say help because some medications, they don't even know if they work. They're just like, here, take these, So yes, this is a progressive disease, meaning that over time your symptoms can worsen. Now, with that being said, everyone is different. This disease, it's so unpredictable that it affects everyone differently all the time. Yeah. So some people can live most of their lives symptom-free, while others, like myself, experience chronic symptoms that never go away. Because it's so unpredictable. Like, you have these lesions, which are damaged parts of your brain, and one person can have a lesion here. Well, another person can have 6 of them. They can have one here, 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 and each part of your brain controls different parts of your body, so it's very unpredictable. Anyway, so I just wanted to share my story, not only to help others, but to let you know why I do certain things in my videos that you may or may not have noticed. Okay, like, I take a lot of notes for almost every video, or why I'm constantly touching my face in videos. So, this is my story. So, I started to notice something was wrong about six-ish years ago. Like I said, it's gonna get personal, so yeah. I was pregnant with my son, and I was actually in the hospital, and they gave me an epidural, and when you get an epidural, they also have to put a catheter in because you lose feeling down there, and they don't want you to like pee all over yourself. So yeah, I had my son, and they took the catheter out, and before you can leave the hospital, they have to make sure that you can pee, to make sure that nothing was damaged, so I was not able to pee, and the nurse was like, you have to pee or you're not leaving this hospital. And I was like, I'm trying, like I was just physically unable to pee. And eventually it got to the point where she said, if you don't go pee, like I could control it or something, she was like, if you don't go pee, then we're going to have to put a catheter back in you, and then you have to leave the hospital like that. And I was like, no. So I just sat on the toilet forever, and I couldn't pee, and they were like, we're gonna put the catheter in, and I was just very upset and crying, and I was exhausted, and I was like leaning over and just like on my lap on the toilet, and then I just started crying. I just started crying because I did not want that to happen. It was very painful, and I just wanted to go home. I had things to do, because we had this house. It was being built, and they had to move back the closing date because I was having a baby. So I needed to get out of this hospital so that we could have our house, So I just sat on the toilet, leaned over, and just started crying. And like, it was very awful. But I guess my stomach was pushing down on my bladder when I was crying, and it literally like put pressure on my bladder and squeezed it, and it literally like squeezed the pee out. And so I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. So I screamed for my husband. I was like, go get the nurse, she needs to see this, So he got the nurse, and she saw it, and she was like, congratulations, you're going home. So I was like, yes. So that was weird. But yeah, like I said, we were getting a new house, and we had to go to the closing and stuff like that. But before that, I had to do like a final walkthrough to make sure that I had approved everything in the house before we signed the papers and got the keys. So my husband, he had to work, so he went to work, and my sister watched my kids. We were staying with my sister until the house was complete. And so my mom took me to this house to do the walkthrough. Well, I had not had any sleep, a new baby, you don't sleep. And I was really tired, just exhausted. So we were going through the walkthrough, and I could not see right. Like, I just was like, man, I didn't get enough sleep last night. Stuff's like, I couldn't, because they wanted me to check the walls to make sure there were no like scratches or whatever. And I remember I couldn't see. It was almost like right before you black out, how it just goes like black, but it was grainy, like a staticky, like old school TV static, but it was all over my vision, and I was just like, oh, I'm just so tired, so I had my mom look and do the walkthrough. So that was very strange. And then about a week after we moved into the house, I was at the kitchen sink, and I was washing some bottles, baby bottles. And then all of a sudden, I noticed there's warm water like running down the lower part of my leg. And I'm like, what the hell? I was just so mad because for some reason my brain thought that somehow the sink pipe was leaking and there was warm water running down my leg. How could the sink, I don't know how that would go, but that's just immediately what I thought. And I was like, what the hell? And I looked down, and then I'm like, what? Because there's no water anywhere. And I was just like real confused, and I got down there and I looked under the sink, and there's no water on the floor, but I could feel water on my leg. And I was just like, what is happening? And I told my husband, and he was like, what? I was like, it was just the weirdest thing ever. So the water thing running down my leg became like a constant kind of feeling. The inability to pee. I always felt like I had to go pee, but then I was not able to. And it was real painful. Can you imagine, like, having the urge to pee all the time, and you do have to pee, but you just can't unless you like lean forward and push really hard. Yeah. So it was just awful. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was just like, what is happening? So I asked my mom, because she was a nurse. She went from a nurse to being case manager, that kind of thing, but she was still a registered nurse, So I asked her, I was like, what is going on? And she was like, I don't know, you're fine. She was from, a generation where they were like, whatever, you're fine, just put a band-aid on it, So anyway, then I started developing breathing problems. I couldn't get enough air into my lungs, and I felt like I couldn't breathe, and it was just awful. And so I was like, maybe I have asthma. So I go to the doctor and they test me for asthma. They're like, you don't have asthma. And I was like, well, I can't breathe. So he was like, okay, whatever. So he gave me an inhaler, and I tried to use the inhaler. It never worked. It never put air in my lungs. It was just, I don't know. And it was real painful too. So anyway, so yeah, that was fun. Then about a year after my son was born, I woke up one day and I was completely blind in my right eye, and panic, like, that was scary. I was like, what is going on with me? So I went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor was like, I don't know, you got to go to a real doctor. So then I went to an eye specialist, and they did all these tests, and he was like, I don't know. I don't know. So he wanted me to see, I called it a super specialist in downtown Houston, because I was already at the specialist. But the specialist was like, I don't know, so you need to go to downtown Houston to, I don't know what it was called, University of Houston, something like that. And I had to see a specialist down there. So I was like, super specialist. But to be able to see this super specialist, I had to wait 3 months. Well, one day, about 2 months into this blindness, I started to be able to see again. Regaining sight was amazing, but also strangely beautiful. Like, it was crazy. When I got my vision back in this eye, it was as though I were inside a Van Gogh painting. Like, it my world looked like a painting. Or like that movie with Robin Williams, What Dreams May Come. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's crazy. But my world became like a living, breathing painting. I'll never forget that. It was so beautiful. It was so strange, but eventually everything went back to looking like, the real world. But I still, all the time, even right now, I still have that static. Everything has, it's almost like I can see particles or something. I know I can't, but that's what it looks like. It doesn't matter what I'm looking at. It's real strange. But anyway, so after I got my vision back, I canceled my appointment with the super specialist, because what am I going to go there and be like, well, now I can see, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So then the water sensations on my legs became worse. It was like all the time, and it started to become higher on my legs. And it would be awful, because I would have cold water running down my legs in the winter time, and then I would have warm water running down my legs in the summertime, and that would make me extra cold or extra hot. And I would complain, like, why can't this be the opposite? Like, give me cold sensations in the summer and then warm sensations in the winter. But you don't get to choose. So then I started to become extremely exhausted, like more exhausted than I had ever been in my entire life. And there was nothing that I was doing to make myself more tired. It was just exhausting all the time. I noticed weakness in my hands. I couldn't pick up my kids. That was very upsetting for me, because I was so weak that, like, it was going to be like I was going to drop them, so I was scared to pick them up. And it was, I don't know, it was just difficult for me, like, even to do everyday things like cooking pasta. How you have to have the water in the pan, and then you cook the pasta, and then you take the pan over to the sink and then drain it. Well, just picking the pan up to go to the sink, it was terrifying, because I was afraid I was going to drop it. So yeah. And I still wasn't able to pee properly. And then this one time, I was in the car waiting to pick up my kids from school, and all of a sudden it was like there was something wrong with my car. Like, the bottom of my car started vibrating in this one spot, and it was like if you were to have a cell phone turned on vibrate. It was like buzz, 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 and then it would stop for a minute, and then it would do it again. So I was like, what? So I called my dad, and he was like, well, why don't you come to the house after you pick up the kids? So I go to his house, because he's a mechanic. So I go to his house, and I'm just like, something's happening right here on the floor. And I'm like, there, it's happening right now. And he's like, I don't hear anything. And I was like, but I can feel it, and yeah, so I was like, it's right here on the floor, and he was touching the floor, and he was like, there's nothing here. And I'm like, here, let me get out of the car, and then you get in, and then you'll feel it. So he was like, okay. So I got out of the car, and he gets in there, and he's like, I don't feel anything. And I was like, no, you do. And then I was like, oh my gosh, because I was standing outside of the car, and then all of a sudden the buzzing was happening. It wasn't in the car, it was in my left foot, and it just constantly does 3 buzzes and then stops for like 30 seconds and then does the buzzing again. It's so strange. And he was like, what is wrong? And I was like, I don't know. I guess never mind. Like I just felt like such an idiot. But I was also like, what is wrong with me? And then, the difficulty breathing just continued, and I began having problems walking. And my foot, it's like I was trying to walk, but my foot was so heavy that whenever I picked it up, it would just slam down really hard. It was just like very strange. Later I found out that was something called drop foot. Anyway, I was just a complete mess. Like, what is going on, So I again asked my mom what to do, and she said that I was fine. So I was like, okay, because like I said, back in her day, it was just deny, everything will be fine. You're not dead, so it's cool. Then I started to have memory problems and confusion. And then I would be so tired that I would just fall asleep, like not even trying to. I would just fall asleep, and then when I woke up, it was as though I had fallen asleep on the couch. And so I had leaned over on the couch, and I had woke up because I realized I was asleep. And I started panicking because I thought I was having a seizure, because my body was just convulsing and like pulsing and just shaking like crazy. And I was like, oh my God, I panicked. And then I realized, I looked at my body, like I looked down, and I was like, what is happening? Because I was totally still. I wasn't moving at all, but my body felt like I was having a seizure. Like, it was terrifying. And so, I still to this day, I can't take naps or anything like that, because if I wake up, my body will feel as though it's having a seizure. So I try not to take naps. But if I go to sleep and then I sleep for, the whole night or whatever, it doesn't do that. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But that's also why I can't have caffeine. I mean, I can have a little bit of caffeine, like from tea, that kind of thing, but I can't like drink a Coke or anything, because it will make me feel all seizure-y, yeah, so that was weird. And I was just like, what is wrong with me? So I started doing my own research, because I knew something was wrong. Yeah, and I just started searching, all over the place, articles, that kind of thing. So I found this article about this woman who was having the same pee problems that I was having, but she thought that it was like catheter related. Like, when she was having her baby, they put the catheter in, and then after they took the catheter out, something had happened and it had damaged her, tubes on the inside or whatever, and it caused her problems. But before she had found that out, her doctors just had mentioned that it may be MS, and that's what she wrote in the article, MS. And I was like, what is MS? I had no idea. So then I was like, what is MS? And I went and looked it up, and I read the symptoms, and the symptoms were difficulty walking, muscle spasms or weakness, coordination problems, extreme fatigue, heat intolerance, poor balance, urinary retention, pins and needles, numbness, burning sensations, vision loss, difficulty speaking, difficulty thinking, headaches, face numbness, sleep deprivation, just weakness in general, foot drop, which was the difficulty raising your foot. And then I saw a video on YouTube, and it was Selma Blair. She was on Good Morning America, and she was talking about MS, and I was like, oh my god, her story sounded very similar to mine, you know. So I went to the doctor, and I told him that I think there's something wrong with me, and that I feel like maybe it's MS. And he basically told me that I was crazy because MS is rare. So yeah, but he was like, to make me feel better, he was like, let's go ahead and get you an MRI. So I was like, okay. So he sent me to get an MRI. There's lesions on my brain. You should go see a neurologist. So I go see a neurologist, and I told the neurologist that the other doctor thought that I was crazy, and he looked at the MRI and he listened to my symptoms, and he was like, I don't think you're crazy. I think that you have MS. But to be 100% sure, I want you to get a spinal tap, which is basically they stick a needle into your spine and pull out spinal fluid, and there'll be chemicals in the spinal fluid that basically say, yeah, this person has MS. So I immediately panicked because I do not like needles, like, at all. But yeah, so I did the spinal tap, and shock, I had it. So I immediately was like, am I going to die? Because I didn't know what MS was, you know. And yeah, I was worried, like, oh gosh, you know, because I've got kids and stuff. But no, I did read that, you know, it takes like 7 years off of your life, and that not all MS patients, but some MS patients, they usually die from MS related problems. So I was like, that's not good. But yeah, so then we had to talk about medication, and there's all kinds of medication out there. Yeah, they have like shots, like injections, that kind of thing, which I was like, no way. And then they have pill, you know, medications, which I was like, okay. And I wanted to have a list of all the pill medications, and then so that I could go and research it. I just didn't want to be like, yeah, sure, I'll take this, you know. I really wanted to research it. And they're all like terrible. They're all really, really bad. It's basically like taking poison to confuse your body. Like, and when you research these pills, it's basically like, you know, doing chemotherapy. And chemotherapy is actually a treatment option. But they all had this one side effect called PML, which is basically, it causes a brain infection that's undetectable, and that just is basically instant death. And I was like, I don't want to take that, you know. But my doctor, he wanted me to take this one. I can't remember the name of it, but PML was a side effect. And he was like, I recommended this one. And I was like, okay, but what about the PML? That's a side effect. He's like, yeah, but it's rare. And I was like, yeah, but so is MS. So I'm not liking my chances. But we found another pill. It was a once-a-day pill. It was called Abagio. So I took that. But I just don't know if it works, because The only thing, I don't take it right now. I stopped taking it a while ago because insurance reasons. This pill is $7,000 a month. Crazy. But anyway, and you have to go through specialty pharmacies and stuff because it's such a hardcore drug. But anyway, while I was taking it, it did nothing but hurt me. It made me very sick and weak all the time. I was no longer able to eat food. I lost like, I don't know, 40 pounds. Like I had lost a lot of weight because I just wasn't able to eat because I was so nauseous. And when I did eat, I would throw it up. So it was just not good. It was basically like I was on chemotherapy. Like one of the major side effects was hair loss. Like you would go bald. And I didn't go bald, but I did. My hair thinned quite a bit. But it just seemed to hurt more than help. So when I got off of it, I was able to eat again. So that was great. But I noticed no difference. I still had all my symptoms, everything like that. But I am told that this is my new normal, my new baseline. So any problems that I have now, they're like irreversible. And that it won't ever go back to normal. It won't ever get better for me, even with the medication. So I was told that the medication would only possibly slow down the progression. So that sucked. But anyway, after I, got the diagnosis and all that stuff, I told my mom, and she still did not believe me. And being a nurse, she was like, I need to see the MRIs. I need to see the doctor's notes, the documentation, all that stuff. And so I had it, and I showed it to her, and she was just like, oh my God. And she felt so bad for not believing me. Like, I had been crying out to her for help for years, and she just kept saying, you're fine, you're fine. And then, being a nurse and not seeing the signs, she just felt bad, but anyway, so now it's just like, what's gonna happen to me today? Like every day for me is different. I have this new thing. It's a skin sensitivity where everything that touches my skin, mostly my back, even my clothes, gives me like this ice burn feeling. It's extremely painful. And like I've been so cold this summer that I literally wear sweaters all the time because my body feels like it's being submerged in ice water. Like, it's awful. It's so painful that nothing really helps because it's not real. Like, my body and my nerves think that it is real, but it's not. That's why they actually call MS the invisible disease, because for most of the symptoms, they're not visible. People can't see them. They don't know what you're going through or what you feel like that day. But, sometimes you can see it. Like, I have extreme difficulty walking due to spasticity, which is basically like, I feel like my legs are being held back by like this rubber band. There's this resistance, and it's real hard for me to walk, but also my feet are just in like a lot of pain. It's basically just difficult in general. As long as I'm holding on to something like a shopping cart or like my husband's arm, something like that, I'm okay. But everything in my house is just an arm's length away, so because I'm so unstable. Like, if you didn't know what was wrong with me, you would think that I was drunk. Like, I just literally walk into walls all the time. Like, my arms have bruises all over them because I'll just smack into them. Like, I can't control it. And sometimes my speech is very slowed down. And like, I can't form words, so I have to talk real slow. Yeah, sometimes I have to record these videos like 2 or 3 times, just because it's like my brain gets stuck and I can't do it. I don't know. And that's why I'm constantly, I have notes like in almost all of my videos, because I will very easily get confused and forget what I'm doing, that kind of thing. Like, I'm literally constantly walking around the house talking to myself like, okay, I'm in the kitchen. I'm standing here for a reason. I don't know. There's nothing in my hands. Like, I'll say these things to like help me try and remember, and then you'll hear my daughter like from the playroom shout, like, "Mom, you're making lunch." Or like, I'll be in the middle of something. Like, I'll be cooking something in the kitchen, and then I remembered that I needed to get something out of the bathroom, or like to replace something in the bathroom, like soap, whatever. And so I will go into the bathroom to get this soap, and then I'll see, like little something in the sink, and I'll turn the water on. But then I'm worried about opening this sanitizer for the bathroom, and I open it up, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm cooking food. So then I go back into the kitchen, and then my daughter or my son will go in the bathroom and like, why is the sink turned on? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, I'll forget it in a second. Like, I have no memory at all, and I get real confused, like a lot. So, and I have like, my hands will shake sometimes, and I can't control it. So like, you might notice it in my shop with me videos, or like when I paint my nails, I'm focusing really hard and I just trash my nails. But yeah, and then in some videos where I keep like touching my face like that, it's because my face is numb. And when your face goes numb like that, the muscles in your face are weakened, and so your mouth, like, it's hard to control your saliva, so it's like you're drooling. Not that I am drooling, but I can't feel my face, so I just have to constantly do that to make sure I'm not like being gross in a video. But yeah, oh, and this one time while I was doing a grocery haul for the channel, right in the middle of the video, I went blind on my right eye. It's always my right eye, never my left. But yeah, I went blind, and I was panicking, but I also didn't want to redo the whole video because I just felt like it would be harder to restart. So I was just like, oh my god, just get through this. And then I went back and I watched the video, and I was like, can you tell? Can you notice that I'm literally crapping my pants? Like, I'm blind. You couldn't tell, so I uploaded it. Yeah, so yeah, that's what's going on with my life. So if there are times that I do like no talking videos, it's probably because I'm having speech difficulties that day. Yeah, so I mean, I hope this helps anyone who needed it, and maybe it explains why I do some of the things that I do in my videos. I don't know, but now you know. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.